Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depends on when I'm being played on the air. Listen, I'm Patty Hunter, and my show is called Patty's Page. Now, beside me is Bob Hunter, who is my co-host for today. Hello, and this is Rick Hughes. Hello.
It is a pleasure, Patty. Nice to be here today.
Yes, you are a DJ of WGL Oldies, 102.9 FM, 1250 AM. So, you have been with them for how long?
Since the 3rd of June. We
year?
started in June, changed the format, and so here we are continuing on, and it's been a lot of fun these last, going on 4 months now.
You like what you're doing?
I love what I do.
You got good people to work with, I know.
It's the only thing I've ever done. It's the only thing I know. Well, not quite, but for the most part, when you do something for the better part of 50 years in your life, you've forgotten anything else that you may have done.
How old were you when you started?
Oh, about 12. No, really. I was 18.
18?
Uh-huh.
That was so many moons ago.
A lot of moons have come and gone since then, that's for sure.
So, you do remote and appearances when you're not DJing?
Oh, yes. Over the years, I've done a lot of wedding receptions, parties, and had my own mobile DJ thing for a while. Did a singles dance from 1987 to 2006 every Sunday night.
Really? Where was this?
Well, it started out at the Ramada.
Yeah.
When the Ramada was out on 14.
Right.
Then we moved to the Lantern.
Right.
And then we moved to Picasso's. And then we moved back to the Lantern.
And you're not?
No, not anymore. We did it from 1987 until 2006.
2006.
At any of those places.
Oh, wow.
So we were busy.
Are you from Fort Wayne?
Originally from Belle Fountain, Ohio, Bob. That's where I got my start. Actually, I was born and raised in Jackson Center, but Belle Fountain was where I had my first radio job. WOHP, which stood for Ohio's Highest Point.
Oh.
Was there from 1963 until 1966. That's when I came to Fort Wayne.
So you always wanted to be a DJ?
Always wanted to be a DJ. Never had anything else enter my mind. Well, I think, maybe as a child, at one time you want to be a fireman, and then maybe a railroad engineer.
That
was back when I grew
when
up.
You're growing up, yeah.
But eventually it was, I love music.
Mm-hmm.
I was infatuated with the jukebox in my mom and dad's restaurant.
Oh, you had a restaurant.
My mom and dad owned a restaurant, and I would watch the jukebox. The turntable would go up, the record would come over, and the song would play. I thought, man, that's the greatest thing in the world. I love watching that. And then, when the song would be on, I got to know what song was, and so the people would be back in the room where they would dance, and I'd watch it, and then I would say, "Here's Patty Page and the Tennessee Waltz," or whatever it might be, but not Patty Hunter, but Patty Page. And that was the first Patty I was aware of.
Have you met any of the people that you've played records of?
Oh, goodness gracious, Patty. When I was at Belle Fountain, there was a dance hall, and it was called the Stardust Ballroom. It was Russell's Point, Indian Lake. And they would have groups or singers come in, and they would always advertise with the radio station. So I think one of the first people that I had the opportunity to meet there was Brenda Lee, and then the Kingsmen, the McCoys, Four Seasons, Beach Boys, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Herman's Hermits, the Association.
The Association, my favorite.
Cherish. Number one song in Fort Wayne in 1966. Number one song of the year.
So, when you were growing up, what school? What?
Jackson Center local.
Yeah, and you.
Our school had a total of 500 students, I think, first through 12th grades.
How many rooms was that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, sorry.
We had a big class, and I think there were 50 in our class when we started out in the first grade, somewhere around 50. So that was, at that time, one of the biggest classes in school history.
Did you do DJing at school dances and stuff like that?
Yep. That's where I actually got my start. In fact, you talk about age. It was in 1958, and the Jackson Center Community Club had this dance. Well, I had records, and maybe that's why I got the job there, because I had more records than anybody else. But anyhow, I took my records, and we'd go down, and I would, on a single turntable, announce the song. And it wasn't too bad unless you had what we refer to in the business as a zero open. And in 1958, maybe it would be Tommy Edwards, and so I'd be there. Hey, it's nice to be here at the Jackson Center Community Club tonight, and we'll slow it down a little bit. Here's Tommy Edwards, and it's all in the game. And you were hoping that when you said it's all in the game, that he hadn't started to sing yet when you queued the song up. See what I'm saying? Because you didn't want to talk and have him sing all at the same time.
So you had to synchronize.
It was always better when you had an instrumental open. That way you could kind of, what we call in the business, talk up vocal.
And usually when they have a button on one of their songs.
Well, we didn't have any buttons then. I would just put the needle on the record, and it would go around, and then I would try to catch it whenever. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't.
So, how long did it take you to know that you are going to be a DJ? Were you very
I had my mind made up maybe in the 5th grade, 6th grade. Yeah, I just was intrigued by it. In fact, in Jackson Center, I grew up listening to Bob Severs and Bob Chase, primarily. Obviously, during the day I was in school, and Bob was on in the early morning, and then Bob Chase was on in the afternoon. Bob did a countdown at that particular time. Every afternoon at 6:15, he would count down the top songs in Fort Wayne, the top 3 songs. Yeah. And I can remember to this day, I can still remember Bob Chase saying, and number 1 today, Jimmy Rogers and Honeycomb. And Bob and I used to talk about that because we had the pleasure of working together for a while. And he, I got to put in a plug for Bob. I think Bob Chase is probably the most talented, most wonderful human being that I ever had the pleasure to work with, and just a super human being.
Is he still working?
Oh no. Yeah, he does the Comets. And Bob could do anything when it came to broadcasting. I mean, he could do voiceovers. He could be a DJ. He could have broadcast football, baseball, basketball, you name it, and he did. I think for the most part about everything. And of course, he's in the Hockey Announcers Hall of Fame where he belongs, but I think he could have been in any Hall of Fame that he ever wanted to be in, and deservedly so.
Word on the street is that you were a newscaster for a short time.
Well, that's true. You know, when I had my first job in Bellefontaine at WHP, I worked part-time, and so an opening came up. And the general manager asked me, he said, Rick, would you be interested in doing news? I said, yeah, I'll do news. And I did that simply because it was a door that opened up to an opportunity. And I said, I will do this, but I would like to have the option of when one of the DJs leaves that I can do that. And I knew one of the fellows that I worked with there was about to leave, or was going to within the next few months. So I think I actually started the news, doing news, in May of 1964, and that opening came up maybe in August. So I did that for like 3 months.
Cool.
But I also had an hour a day where I got to DJ too. So it all worked out.
So you have a family back in Ohio?
I have a family in Fort Wayne. I have a lot of friends back in Ohio, but my family's in Fort Wayne now. My mother lived in Jackson Center. My brother lived with her. He was a semi-invalid, and so he needed constant care. And that was one reason why I never wanted to get any further away from them.
Yeah.
Here I was about 90 minutes away. It was about an hour and a half drive over. So I felt good in that if there was ever any help needed there, that I was close by.
Did you have to go to broadcasting school, or did you just fall into it naturally?
Bob, I went to Midwestern Broadcasting School in Chicago. And, with broadcasting schools, anybody that's ever been there or are aware of them, it was about a 4-month course, and it was good. I mean, they taught you how to run a board, how to write copy, and some of the nuances of radio. But to learn anything, you actually had to work at the station to get involved in what the day-to-day operation was.
Hands-on, you mean? Hands-on,
yeah.
Well, how long did you go take this course?
I was there for about 4 months.
4 months?
Mm-hmm. From April till August of 1963.
So that's a part-time critter.
Yeah.
College? Was it college or university?
I'm sorry?
College?
Well, I never went to college. I just went to broadcasting school. I wish I would have gone to college, but there again, I thought,
You're doing good.
This is what I want to do, so if I'm going to you
found your
be a
niche.
DJ like I wanted to be a DJ, I'll go to a broadcasting school, take the easy way out, kind of a shortcut, and it led to the job in Bellefontaine.
Oh, you love it. I can just see it. You just it oozes out of your skin that you like being a DJ. You love being a DJ.
Well, everything that goes with it. I love music. I love sports. And actually, that was one thing, too. You asked me about doing the news, but I did some play-by-play baseball and basketball while I was over there, too, because I liked that a lot. But the DJ thing, I mean, that was it. That was in my mind and in my heart.
So what else did you do in school? Like you were homecoming freshman? What's that?
Oh, well, I was in school. Well, there again, now I had an opportunity, and you got to remember now, like I said before, this was a small school, and there weren't a lot of people that wanted to take the bull by the horns. So when I volunteered to do the announcing for anything, whether it be the homecoming or whatever, I usually had that opportunity simply because I reached out and said, I'd like to do that. And okay, fine, it's yours.
Your voice is beautiful.
Well,
it's wonderful. I like hearing you on the radio.
Well, thank you very much.
You got a command
I appreciate
voice.
that.
Your command voice. You said that when you were younger in school.
Yeah, I said a lot of things when I was younger, Patty.
You were a king. What's
that was at the homecoming. Yep, king of my senior class, and I didn't do any announcing that night. That night, you mentioned that night, but I was in the high school band.
Right.
I played basketball.
Yeah.
And participated then in the homecoming ceremonies.
Right.
So that was a busy night. I did not have time that night to do any announcing. But given a choice, I probably would have rather done that over anything else.
Well, you had fun.
Well, I had fun. I enjoyed it. Sure, you bet.
Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah.
I collect Lionel electric trains. That's been the other love of my life.
Lionel? What's that?
Lionel electric trains. And
do you have one of those big setups in the basement type of thing?
You know, I don't really, Bob, have a big setup. I'm more of a collector, but I have shelves, and I have floor space because I run out of shelves. I have a small basement. And I go to train shows, train meets they call them, and this week I'll be going to Alexandria, Indiana.
Where's
which is
that?
south of here.
South here, okay.
And then I think the next show we do, there will be one out here at Coliseum Bingo. That's October the 26th. Then we'll go to Springfield, Lima, Monroe, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. During the winter months, almost every Sunday morning, my friend and I cover we cover a lot of ground. So we go to any train show within 175 miles from here. We try to go to.
So, do you broadcast from this train?
No. That's just part of my collecting. We just go to look for things or sell things, whatever the case might be at that particular time.
So, you also, when you're about 12 or maybe less, on a farm, no less?
Well, my uncles had farms and my friends had farms. And when you grow up in a small farming community, you have a lot of farm-related jobs that come up. And
what did you do?
Most summers, I ended up baling hay. That was the one thing. And I like to do that because it gave me some exercise and,
But were you living on a farm or in the suburbs?
I'm sorry?
Were you in the suburbs or in the farm?
In Jackson Center, there were no suburbs. It was a town of one traffic light.
Oh, wow.
So it was the town in itself, and it was its own suburb. I think in my hometown, the population when I left was somewhere just under 800 people.
I wonder how much it is now.
Yeah,
Do you ever keep
maybe
in touch?
1,200. It has the population has expanded since I left.
Where I grew up, the population was 100.
Yeah,
Up in Abitibi Canyon, just south of Hudson Bay.
I'm sorry.
South of Hudson Bay,
Oh, okay.
Canada. You betcha.
What's your favorite type of music? What era? The 50s, the 60s,
50s, 60s, 70s. Pretty much what I'm doing now, as a matter of fact. I mean, this was a godsend when this opening came up to be able to get back and do this, because basically this is what I started out doing. These are the songs I played when they came out, and now I'm playing them again. So nothing in particular, Bob. I liked a lot of music. In fact, I liked most music.
That's well done.
And being able to get back to where I was, where I started, I mean, that means a lot too.
You like jazz?
No, I'm not. I
You're
mean,
not
it's
jazz
all
at all.
right, but I'm more into top 40 and contemporary and middle of the road.
How
music.
about classic rock?
Well, classic rock. Yeah, classic rock. Not classical, but classic rock's fine.
But not the... Are you into rap?
No.
No. Okay, I just thought, what are your borders,
Well,
there's other-
you've been talking about my age,
Uh-oh.
and now that we were on that, and you asked me...
Hip-hop? Never mind.
I think my taste in music and my age kind of reflect where I'd be with that.
So, grew up in the 50s.
Correct, 50s and 60s.
and 60s, so that's about the same time we have been growing up. I first learned about rock and roll when I was 10, and my mom says, "What are you listening to?" I said, "I'm listening to Dion, Ruby." Remember that song?
Ruby Baby, 1963.
1963.
That was his first hit on the Columbia label.
You bet. And Mom said, "What is that? That's Ruby." I said, "Ruby what?"
Ruby Baby, that's what it is.
And then she started to get interested in our music as we grew up into her teens.
Well, you talk about rock and roll. At my mom and dad's restaurant, the waitresses couldn't wait until Elvis Presley was on TV. So, when Elvis came on the Ed Sullivan Show, and the Dorsey Brothers show. That was the first opportunity I had to see Elvis. In fact, that was the first appearance he made was on the Dorsey Brothers show on one Saturday night.
You met them?
Did I meet Elvis? No. Saw him a couple of times, but never
You
met
saw
him.
them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I never had a chance when I was a kid.
He was in Fort Wayne twice, and I saw him when he was here. And then also we drove to Detroit to see him, and that was where I saw him the first time.
How about the Beatles?
Never saw the Beatles. I did do a show with the Dave Clark Five.
Dave Clark Five.
And they were when the British invasion took place back in 1964,
Right.
it was the Beatles. Then it was the Dave Clark Five.
The Beatles opened the door.
Right, yeah, that was when the floodgates began, and it was Jerry and the Pacemakers and all the rest of those groups. The Kinks, they were here. The Rolling Stones, of course.
How
And the
about?
Rolling Stones are still out.
They're still around.
Yeah.
How about other countries? Do you listen to their oldies?
No.
No, just British and American.
Well, I mean,
Canadian.
anything that was on the charts here.
But they didn't have.
I mean, I
international-
listened to Sukiyaki by Ku Sakamoto, but
Yeah.
that was only because it was a top 40 hit.
And Australia has good singers coming out as well.
Rolf Harris had a song from Australia called "Tie Me Kangaroo Down."
That's
Spoil.
my favorite. And also, what was that song? I Remember You.
Oh, Frank Ifield, 1962,
Oh my goodness.
on the VJ label.
I'm guessing you would win a trivia contest.
Oh,
Oh, my
only
goodness.
about songs that I happen to know. You know how that is, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because you'd be somewhere, you talk music, and somebody would ask you about a song, or a song would come up, and like here, I'd mention, whatever. Well, then somebody would come up with the most obscure song that you ever heard in your life that didn't chart, and they would say, well, do you remember whatever? I was like, no, I never heard of that. See, I knew I'd get you. So, it depends on what you're talking about, what song comes
This-
up, as
you
to
know,
whether
what-
you know
what you're-
whether you know
yeah.
a particular
Yeah.
song or not. I mean, it's like baseball statistics or football stats or whatever. If it's a team you root for or a player played for that team, you can sound pretty smart for maybe a minute or two. But after that, when you really get involved,
You don't know everything. No one knows everything
no,
on
I'd be
this
left out in a
planet.
hurry.
So, what was your...
you played two of my favorite groups this morning. That was Paul Revere and the Raiders, and
Indian
the
Reservation,
and the Guess Who.
and the Guess Who Share the Land.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we played another song this morning that I guess you could classify it almost as part Guess Who, because it was Randy Bachman.
Right.
But after he had left
Back
the
with
Guess
Turner
Who, he was
Overdrive.
with BTO and taking care of business.
Guess what? I was the 5th caller in this morning before 7 o'clock.
For
Before
the
8.
Carmike Cinema passes?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I was the 5th one. I'm sorry, you're number 5. We're looking for number 7. I go,
Well,
I do
maybe
that-
tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. We still have tickets to give away. And as long as there's a radio station, there will always be something to give away, believe me.
Oh, no. And another time, out of 5 callers, I was the 4th.
Oh, really? Well, now see, third time's
I
gonna be a charm.
gotta time it just right,
It'll happen. It'll happen. Keep
It'll
it up.
happen.
One thing I like about you do in the show is that you generally mention the names of the groups. Some of the other stations, I'm wondering who it is, and I can't rack my brain for it, and they don't mention the name. But
Well, that's one thing we do in the morning. We try to, give the title, give the song, and then another thing I like to do, Bob, is give a little information about either the song or the artist, or something that's relatable to that particular song. And I've, had a number of people like yourself will mention, well, I heard you say such and such. So as long as people mention that they like something you do and you get positive feedback, then obviously you'll continue to do it.
That's wonderful.
So I promise I'll do that.
So you have been, during the summertime, this first time that you did something on the, what do you call
Lunch on the Square.
it? Lunch on the Square.
That's where I met you and
Yeah,
Bob.
that's where you met us. Yeah, you poor thing, eh?
No, that was great. That's great. Anytime I meet people, I take that as a plus. I love to be out. I love to meet people, and maybe that started in my mom and dad's restaurant, because there were people in all the time, and again, in the small town, you get to know everybody. I mean, anybody that comes in, it's hi Sherm, hi Clarence, hi Fred, those kind of things. You know all the people, but I was always around people, and I like that.
So how did you get to do the announcing on the Lunch on the Square, or whatever?
That was a station promotion.
Oh,
And when I started the station on the 3rd of June, by
Right.
that Thursday, which would have been the 6th,
right.
was the first of those. And that was a wonderful event. And that event went on from June
to
through
September.
September, and then they extended it another 4 weeks. So there was 4
June to
extra
August,
weeks.
and then
Right.
it went into September.
And then
It started to get cold in that time.
Yeah. And the great thing is we were blessed with great weather. I mean, the weather was, as you
I was
know,
just going to
you were
ask,
there
did you
most
get rained
days,
down a couple
fantastic.
times? No. Yeah, good weather every Thursday.
Right.
It was from 11:30 to 1
11:30 to 1. Mm-hmm.
at Times Square during the summer months.
One Summit Square.
One Summit Square.
Correct.
I'll get it right.
That's all right.
Well, anyways, it's getting on towards the end of the show.
Oh, no. We need to do this again.
We
have
have
more
to
to
do
talk
it
about.
again. We have to do it again because I enjoyed listening to you, your stories, your adventures, and everything like that.
You'll have to write a book.
You have to
Well,
write a
I
book.
promise
Are
none of
you
those
writing your
stories were
memoirs?
made up. When I run out of stories, maybe I'll have to make them up. But so far, everything I've ever mentioned is true. It's something that happened or an experience that I went through in my life.
Do a memoirs of you. We should do a whole show on. Well, we can't do it.
Well, we can talk about that. We can talk about partying with Herman's Hermits and
Yeah.
the animals.
Yeah,
Having dinner with Kenny Rogers.
Hello, dinner with Kenny Rogers. Oh, I'm so.
We got to work with Peter Noon several years ago as well. So.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Super guy. Yep.
So, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page, and I like to thank you, Rick Hughes
Well, let's do this again.
of Oldies 102.9, 1250 AM, and to my co-host, Bob Hunter, my husband, of course. So, I'd like to thank you, the audience, for tuning in. We'll see you next week, and bye-bye, and we love you, and God bless. Bye-bye. Have a good one.